Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are back again with our A Day in the Life of an Entrepreneur series. And this time we have Subho Halder with us, who is a co-founder and a CEO for Appknox. He's been in the community for a very long time and building his own products as well. So without further ado, let's bring him in the call. Hi Subho, how are you?
Hi, Vandana. Doing great. Thank you for inviting me for this podcast. Happy to meet everyone. Hello, everyone.
So Shubho, this is a series where we talk about your journey, how you actually got started with the cybersecurity and your entrepreneur journey. So we would love to hear your story that since when you started with cybersecurity, and we know that you did back to when we started off with all the communities, but we want to hear from you.
Sure, sure. So I started this journey almost like 13 years ago, and that was the time when 13 or 14 years ago was the time when Apple came out with iPhones and Google came out with their Android devices and things like that. And I was really excited and wanted to use these devices, and I wanted to understand how things work in those devices. So that's how my journey started. I was always focused more on mobile application security and how to hack into those mobile devices, and for fun purposes, of course. Like, can I snoop into messages of my friends and make them or pull a prank on them by getting access to their phones and things like that. So these were really intriguing things which I used to do while I was in college, which is almost 13, 14 years ago. And that's how all my the taste of cybersecurity started. I actually wrote a white paper about a specific Android malware, which actually got famous, and that's how I got invited to one of the first uh, cybersecurity conference based out of India. It was called Club Hack at that point of time. I was invited there, and that was the first time I saw how the cybersecurity community was, and also my first time into experiencing other or seeing other people in the community working on similar things, and that's how I got connected to the community. And I gave my talk on mobile malwares in the conference, right? And that's how I started growing more and more. I started writing more and more white papers regarding mobile related security researches, going to conferences, gaining more knowledge, I would say. uh, and that's how I got hired in TCS. That was my first company, actually. While I was in TCS, I was able to lead a team under digital innovation, like a mobile security group uh, team. So that's how I started in TCS. Got a little bit of taste on how corporate world works, and bringing all my fun examples in the past and my corporate experiences, and that's how kind of brief our story goes into coming there. So yeah.
I think that's amazing. So now, when you started thinking about being an entrepreneur journey or starting off your own startup, what were some of the things that were getting into your head? uh, because I have met a lot of founders in the past, and they had their own set of challenges going on in their head, or sometimes that whether it's good to start off or not, or like all the things that goes behind the scenes. So, what was your mindset? That time, because there are a lot of budding founders who actually want to start their journey, but don't know how to do it or where to start off, or how to execute their ideas.
I think that's a great question, but I'll be really, really honest here. When I started off, it was not my intention to actually do a startup, right? That was never my intention. So I was in TCS, and then I was looking at other opportunity to go and join some other company. I was giving interviews. I was almost selected in Yahoo and other companies. And this is the truth, actually. It was never an intention to do a startup, but when I got an opportunity, it's a leap of faith which I took. Later on I realized that, okay, whatever I'm working, there is a value which the companies are seeing. And thankfully, even the time kind of arranged, the market was also ready. The digital India movement started. People started using more and more mobile applications than web applications. Because when I started, I thought, why will people invest in this small device where a lot of web applications are happening? And a lot of such conversations I used to have with advisors, with investors, with customers as well. They're like, why are you building only for mobile? I mean, I just have two applications, right? Instead, I have like seven portals and I'm willing to pay you more for web, right? So all of these decisions, there's no such framework which an entrepreneur can use to be successful. It's just that a little bit of gut feeling, a little bit of luck, a little bit of market positioning, but mostly a lot of hard work as well, right? So with that gut feeling, a hard work comes into that. So yeah, it took us a lot of guts to say no, to expand into other territories, but we still took some business because we need some money, of course. At that point of time, it's not like mobile was a huge thing at that point of time. So we used to take some of those projects just to understand, but we used to be focused on mobile apps, right? So even though the customers are like, hey, I have seven portals, can you do a VAPT scan of that? And we are like, we will do it only if you give that one mobile app which you have, and I'll do the rest for much cheaper cost. I don't care, but that's what I need, right? So that's how we kind of hack into our way into getting those applications which companies had in the initial stage. I suddenly realized I never told this to anybody, but yeah. So these are some of the hacks which we try to go and do. Get into companies, trying to understand how they are building their mobile apps, how much they are valuing the security at that point of time. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing story. Now, when we talk about these stories, there is, as you mentioned, a lot of hard work goes in. So, how exactly your day to day looks like when you are starting your day? Because an entrepreneur has to be an HR, marketing person, salesperson, and whatnot. So, as a as an entrepreneur, what are the things that goes around that area? How do you start your day? What are the hats do you wear? Are you a people person, or are you more into the leadership or management? So I really want to understand how exactly your entrepreneurship journey has been around the people or the leadership area.
Yeah, very interesting question, actually. So I think you need to wear multiple hats, and also at what stage of startup you are in, right? And if you talk about my day-to-day journey today, it's a very different than how my day-to-day journey it was a year ago. Right? Today, what I'm doing is mostly I have to be a people person, and I am a people person, thankfully, where I need to do a lot of negotiations, not only internally but as well as externally. Being a CEO, you have to portray yourself externally as well. I have to be a leader as well, because I have to lead by example. And whatever we are trying to do is something which other big companies and organizations are doing. Me with a limited resources, limited bandwidth, we should be doing 2x or 3x of what the other organizations are doing, right? And that's how a startup kind of tries to win over. So it's not a easy journey, but it's a little bit difficult. But in my day-to-day life, I need to do those strategic decisions to understand what are the levers which needs to be pulled, and obviously at the end, have all the updates coming in, understand how these are, where we are, because ultimately whatever we plan, not everything goes accordingly. So we need to be sure that whatever we are planning, even if there is a deviation from the plan, how much is the deviation, and can we go through, what's the next step, right? So that's how it is. If I have to divide my day, I generally do this, and this has been always been my mantra. I divide my day into four halves, right? So the first half, which is the morning half, which is the most productive half, uh, that's the half where I focus more on right now strategy. When I was not the CEO but the CTO and looking internally, that was the first half. Again, leadership was my focus when I started up in my career, in my entrepreneur journey. That was the half where I used to do all the productive work, like looking at the mail, more hands-on work, figuring things out, merging PRs and stuff like that. So that's the first half. The second half of the day, which is where you get into more tactical things. In this case, it'll be more like, okay, what are the things which you need to complete, which you need to do. You need to work on those, make sure that things are moving smoothly. If there are firefighting which is required, do that in at that second half of the day. That's how the second part of the day works. Like, the third part of the day is about actually planning. So you plan for the next day, for the next week, probably for whatever things which you are not able to do today, you have to do the next day. So that's the third part of my day. And the last part of the day, which I look forward to, is mostly networking and making sure that I have the balance in my life, to make sure that I go back home or network with other people, or make sure that I talk to other friends and other entrepreneurs, and whatever problems I'm stuck with, make sure talk about those, listen to their problem, see if I can help them out and things like that. So generally this has been my kind of a framework uh, for a day-to-day kind of an activity. I'm trying to put in a framework on it, but that's how it looks like. Yeah.
No, no, no. I really like the framework of dividing your time because that's very important. Because I actually heard one of the leaders uh, interview, and he said that I would make sure that if I have to take up any proper meetings or the important meetings, I take between 10 to 12, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., because that's the time when I'm more productive. That's the time when I make the big decisions, because that's where my brain is more active and I can take some sane decisions. So I totally love how you actually divide your time in this framework, which is a set framework for you, and that actually really helps as well. uh, and actually, there's another question that comes to my mind is, how do you actually unwind or manage your stress? Because stress is something which is there with everyone. Even I'm stressed with a lot of things. Even I'm not an entrepreneur, but um, even even the small things sometimes make it stressful. So how do you balance it out? How do you unwind that? Or how do you manage that stress, whether it's pressure, whether it's anything else with your role?
Uh, yeah, this is also an ongoing activity, I would say. But you know what? I don't mind the stress because this is what my passion is, right? Whatever you're passionate about, you're okay to take that stress. I know it's like a anti thing which I'm saying, but at some point of time, it's gonna take a toll in your health for sure. I still remember when we were like this four-member team, like the Appknox was just four people team, right? And we were serving like seven or eight clients, and I did not sleep for 2 nights straight, right? But it's not that it was like, oh, I look back at it and I'm like, why didn't I do it? It was more like I love it and that's why I did it. And I fainted because I didn't sleep for 2 nights. And it's a very famous story in Appnox. Like, I did not sleep for 2 nights straight, and I was working all the 48 hours continuously, and then I just fainted. When I woke up the next day, and people came and tried to wake me up, and somehow I woke up. I realized that, hey, this is fine. I mean, I'm really passionate about this part of my life, which is my professional life, but I need to make sure that my personal life is also something which is taken care of, right? So since then, I started building this habit of, at least I need some sleep, even if I have some travel to go, or even if I have a very late night call because I'm talking to someone from the other side of the world. I still make it a point that I need to have a minimum 4 to 5 hours of sleep, which is very, very much important, and things like that, right? So this work life balance doesn't literally exist for an entrepreneur for sure, But what I make sure is when I'm working, I put my 100% to work, like 100%, right? But when I'm not working and when I'm having fun or going out for parties, I again put 100% to that, right? So if I'm partying, if I'm going out, if I'm hanging out, or if I'm networking with anybody, I make it a point that I'm not going to look at notifications. I'm not going to look at my laptop, or if I've gone out for vacation, I'll make it a point that no matter what, I have a set of leaders, I have a set of support system already there. Unless my company is completely dying, I should not be disturbed at all. So I make it that as a point. But frankly speaking, there is no work life balance, at least for an entrepreneur. And if someone is saying that I'm trying, that everyone is trying, nobody has found it yet, and that's the truth. If a customer is giving me a call at 12 o'clock in midnight, uh, and if I'm passionate about my startup, I'm going to pick that call up, right? I'm not going to tell them, hey, can you reschedule the call to morning? That's not happening because revenue is coming. Customers are calling. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But that's my life, right? But for an entrepreneur, unfortunately, you need to figure that work life balance, and it cannot be that 9 to 6 is work, 6 to this is life. That's not going to happen. But however much you can extract out of those 24 hours time for yourself, take out that whole 20 like that whole period of time for sure. So that would be my work life balance, I would say.
Right. I think, yeah, it's still a juggling, and you have to learn the way you can manage it. That's the way. That's the best way to go forward. And I'm sure you've had your learnings during this journey. So, can you please share some of your experiences or your learnings for the people who are actually want to be an entrepreneur or who are budding entrepreneur? What's some of the advices that you want to give it to them, which they should impart in themselves and they should keep in mind?
uh Sure. See, every startup is very, very different, right? But there are a few key points which needs to be there, right? First, I would say you have to be obsessed with customer, right? Customer obsession is how your business is gonna go ahead, right? Is how your startup is gonna grow. If you're not listening to the customer, whom are you building the product for, right? Why will someone gonna go ahead and pay for you, right? So you have to be obsessed with customer. You have to listen to them. You need to understand. uh, I'm not saying that whatever they say you have to build everything, but you need to understand the crux of it, right? So you have, and this is kind of an anti pattern to what Steve Jobs or Elon Musk's are for us in today's world, because they do not listen to the customer. They are like a visionary leader where they think that this is how the humanity should go. But that's not what we are, right? At least if you want to be that visionary leader later on, I think this is how you start off, by listening to customers, by listening to what you are trying to sell, to whom you are trying to sell, right? So that's one thing I would want to tell you, to every other budding entrepreneur who are there. Second thing which I want to talk about is resilience, right? It's not easy, it's not an easy journey. In the initial part of my life, I used to always think that, hey, why is not everyone doing or being an entrepreneur, right? So, and then I realized it's not everyone's geek, right? It's not about, it's very challenging, but there are a lot of factors, right? So if you are trying to start off, uh, you have to be a little bit resilient, right? um, if you're building something meaningful, it takes time. uh, I have been operating Appknox for almost more than a decade now, 10 and a half years. We are still not like Google, right? But still, we have built something meaningful, which people, or which the businesses are willing to buy, are willing to spend some money on us, are willing to go and give reviews in different places, right? So I think resilience is the second very key important thing, right? And the third thing, which is also very, very important, and I think for every startup, they need to understand that, having a vision is very, very important. You need to think about tomorrow while you're building for today, right? So which means that If you're building something now, you need to keep some idea about how this will look in tomorrow, and keep those provisions there already. In technical term we call scalability, right? But in an entrepreneurial term it is more like having a vision, like this is where I want to be. An achievable vision, of course. I'm not saying that we need to, like, an unachievable vision, but having your own vision that this is where the product has to be after, or your your enterprise will be after a year or two. And for that you can do a back calculation, come back and say, hey, this is how I need to probably try to build. Having that is very, very important, because otherwise you will be very short sighted. All the entrepreneurs whom I've met are always long sighted. They always think about what's the future, how far can I see. They're never short sighted, right? So that's another advice I can probably give to everyone, right? And the last advice which I probably would give for anybody is, it's very simple and everyone heard it, is fail fast, right? If you think that something is not working, do not drag along, right? It's okay if there's something not working, let's just stop it and let's figure out something else completely new, right? You have to be very agile, fail fast, and then only you can succeed. So yeah, so these are, I think, four things for any budding entrepreneurs.
I think that's very, very amazing for you to say that fail fast, because you need to take a, you might not have a plan B earlier, but then if it's not working out, you should change the path. That's very wise of anyone to take that decision when to stop and start something different, which is very important. Yeah.
Absolutely, because if you look at it, it's like your baby, and you just don't want to change your baby into something else right after a year. But it's very
Yeah.
difficult, and hence people keep telling you fail fast. So yeah, that's what it is.
No, but yeah, I agree with that baby decision. Even when we talk about our babies, we actually we actually talk it out that okay, this is not working out. Let's try a different approach. And I think it's okay to have that. But yeah, again, everyone has their own set of challenges, mindset, so they can take their own way. But these are some good advices that actually they can try and follow, or they can pick it up from you. Um, Subho, thank you so much for spending time with me. We can go on and on for this, but yeah, we've really had good conversation around different things that you are following up, and I'm sure this is personally going to help me as well. Thank you so much for coming and joining me here today.
Thank you, Vandana, for the invite as well, and it was great talking to you as well. So yeah,
So thank you so much, everyone, for joining as well. We'll be sharing more details around all the things that Shubho mentioned. So keep tuning, and we'll also be sharing a lot of resource in the comment section so you can check them out. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
thank you.